just a quick view of the Lifeline multi-use shoulder pulley. So shoulder pulley is all about getting range of motion in your shoulder, getting rid of stiffness, increasing flexibility. So if you're in the market for a shoulder pulley, there's lots of options to choose from. So I'm just going to go over a couple features that I think you need to be aware of. The first one is the way it attaches to the door. There's two main ways. There's usually like a strap, usually made of nylon, a flat strap that goes over the top of the door. And then you close the door and it's firmly in place. That's the first kind you see. The other kind is a metal bracket, and that's what this one has. It has a metal bracket that goes over the door, and then then it's held firmly in place. So why would you choose one over the other? Well, basically, if you're worried about scratching your door or causing any damage to your door, you probably don't want the metal door anchor. You probably want to get the kind with the strap. But if you're not worried about that so much, stick with, it's okay. Either one's fine. So that's the first thing to look for. Mainly depending on, how concerned you are about, wrecking your door or scratching it. The other thing to look out for is the handles. Handles come usually in 3 different types. Usually they are plastic, wood, or foam. So just be aware of that. Why would you choose one over the other? I think foam handles give the best grip because your hand sinks in and you get a better grip. But on the other hand, if you're worried about cleaning it regularly, you don't really want the foam, because something like a plastic handle or a wooden handle definitely clean a lot easier. Anyway, speaking of handles, this is probably one of the more interesting handles I've ever seen on a shoulder pulley. This is basically if you have trouble holding on to the thing. So your hand is kind of wedged in between there. It gives you that extra support to keep your hand firmly attached to the handle. So if you do have trouble with grip with one arm, like say you've had a stroke and you have a weak grip, this is probably a good feature to consider on this one. But yeah, this is a good basic shoulder pulley. So if you're looking at increasing range of motion of your shoulder, it's stiff or anything, I think this is a pretty good choice. Now, this is all about flexibility. If you want an optimally functioning shoulder, there's a couple other things you need to be thinking about too. Let me show you real quick. I got these out of this book, Bulletproof Your Shoulder. So basically, the first thing you need to worry about is shoulder stability, okay? So your shoulder, creating a highly stable joint. So basically your shoulder is a ball and socket joint, but it's different than say your hip, which is also a ball and socket joint, because your hip is a very deep ball and socket joint, and it doesn't rely much on the muscles to keep it in place. And think about it, you hear more about dislocated shoulders than you do dislocated hips. That's because of the shoulder is just a very shallow ball and socket joint. So it depends heavily on muscles to keep it into place. And most of the muscles that keep it into place are your rotator cuff. That's its main job, is to keep that ball tight in the socket. So if you want optimal shoulder stability, you need to strengthen your rotator cuff. And it gives you some exercise. Now, even if you have a super strong rotator cuff, your shoulder actually operates on a base, and the base is your scapula. Okay, so sometimes even though you have a strong rotator cuff, could run into some problems if you don't have good scapular stability. So your scapular shoulder blade is the base upon which your shoulder operates on. So you have to have a solid base. So you need to strengthen the muscles that are around your shoulder blade. All it takes is 1 to 2 exercises. Actually, the rowing exercise is really good. It hits most of these muscles. So that way you'll get good scapular stability. Here's flexibility. We talked about that using the shoulder pulley. There's actually about 4 critical motions. Behind the back stretch, overhead stretch, that's good for the shoulder pulley, the side stretch, and across the chest stretch. So those are 4 critical motions your shoulder has to have to optimally function. Last thing is proprioception. A lot of research now coming out on people with shoulder problems having decreased proprioception, and that's your position sense. So in other words, if you turn the lights out, you know whether your arm is up in the air or whether it's down by your side, and that's because of these proprioceptors, these joint receptors that is in the shoulder joint, and it lets you know where your shoulder is and your position sense. So they're finding, people with shoulder problems have problems. It isn't what it's supposed to be. So you got one exercise for that. Here again, looking for an optimally functioning shoulder, a few more tools for your toolbox. As far as range of motion, especially overhead, shoulder pulleys are great for that. So this is a good one. Check it out.